Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us for the Spiritist Talk series promoted by the United States Spiritist Federation on Saturdays at 11 a.m. East Coast time. I'm very happy to be here to host this talk by Marcio Lee, who will be leading our live with the theme A World of Fraternity. Before that, however, I would like to take a brief moment to announce two programs by USSF, otherwise known as the United States Spiritist Federation. First program, the Initiation into Spiritism course, which is free of charge. This course is meant for those who want to learn or renew the basic principles of Spiritism, first published by Allan Kardec in 1857. It is a self-paced class composed of 30 lessons and 8 interactive Q&A sessions. Lessons are released weekly on Sundays at 10 a.m. East Coast time. If you are interested or know someone who could benefit from this course, take a moment to visit the course page on the USSF website, that's spiritist.us, to access past classes and or receive the reminders by email. Second program, the USSF's 25th anniversary will be celebrated at the 16th U.S. Spiritist Symposium on November 5th, 2022 in Houston, Texas at Rice University. The 16th U.S. Spiritist Symposium will have the theme Time for Renewal, Healing, and Regrowth. The symposium, held annually, is a full-day event, and it is an opportunity to unite all of us who are interested in Spiritism through a series of presentations and roundtables with speakers from all over the United States. After 2 years of virtual presentations, this symposium will be held in person and will offer activities for children and youth with a focus on emotional healing to address the impact of the pandemic on their families and social lives. Registration is open at the USSF website and the symposium website, which is spiritistsymposium.org. Join us on November 5th, where? Rice University. Which town? Houston, as in the Lone Star State of Texas. One more announcement before we move on to the presentation. On the screen, please note there is a QR code. If you enjoy this series of live talks and the Initiation into Spiritism course and would like to read more about Spiritism, the USSF has continuously been working on translations of Spiritist books into English. Thank you for scanning the QR code on screen to help produce future publications and promote Spiritism to everyone. Your support is appreciated. Now, let us introduce Marcio Lee. It is so good to have you with us today, Marcio.
Thank you for having me, Peter.
Pleasure. Thank you, everyone who is watching this broadcast, and I want to give you a warm welcome. Marcio is here to discuss a world of fraternity. The fraternity, exemplified by Francis of Assisi, would make our planet accelerate the path to a world of regeneration. Together, we will learn how Spiritism's teachings can help us to become more fraternal. I'm sure you are as eager as I am to hear from Marcio, so please let me introduce him more formally. It'll be short and sweet. Marcio is a Spiritist and a volunteer at Fraternity Without Borders. Where'd you go to school, Marcio?
I went to business administration in São Paulo, Brazil.
Oh, nice. So how long have you been in the United States?
Just over a year now. I haven't been living in Toronto before, in Canada.
Okay. Wonderful. Okay. So thank you for being here. Remember, everyone, to please send in your questions because we will have a Q&A after his talk. It's all yours, Marcio.
Thank you so much. And thank everyone for having me. It's a pleasure to be here. Um, and talk about fraternity is something that it's very close to my heart. As was mentioned, I'm a member and a volunteer of the organization Fraternity Without Borders, which work a lot on spreading the this sentiment, this behavior, this way of living of fraternity. And it's a beautiful teaching that recently I realized how often the word fraternity comes together with charity when you're reading the gospel according to Spiritism. You know, we talk a lot about charity in fraternal borders, Spiritism. Sorry, and it's part of our teachings, right? I think it's not the most important thing that we learned here, that without charity there is no salvation, isn't it? But it's charity and fraternity that will help us um, to make this planet, our planet Earth, a better place. One thing will not go without the other one, right? You to be charitable, you need to be fraternal, and that's what we're going to talk about today. So I'm very happy to bring this topic with Francis of Assisi, which we know pretty much as a saint. We know as a person that was give everything that he has to be and to help other people, right? So but what it's important for us is to know a little bit before Francis de Sales became the saint that we want, that we know, right? So just a little bit of his story. He was born in 100, 1181 until 11 to around 1226. So he was alive for about 45 years. Um, and he was born in a very rich family, and history says that he was handsome and very elegant in his youth, and used to spend money on very superfluous things, right? Very different from the poor and humble priest that he became, the one that we know. And it's interesting because as many of us, right, we we have things in our past that we're not proud of. We fought, we said things that after study spirituals, after getting more mature, right? We realize that that's not exactly what we would do. At least for me, now that I'm 41, almost 42 years old, it's easy to look to my past and say, "Oh my God, if I knew what I know today, I would not have done this or that." Right? So the same thing happened to our dear Francis of Assisi. For sure, there's a time that he spent money with superfluous things. He didn't want to do, right? But that's part of the transformation that all of us go through, not only in this life, right? Because we think a lot about what happening right now in this existence, but we know that it has been through many and many and many existences that we have grown, we have evolved as a spirit, right? And that was not different with him. So when he was starting, you know, your adulthood, very young, he was working for his father, selling clothes in the market as a trader. And a beggar come to him and asked for some alms, so there's any change, anything that he could spare. And at that point he said no, but he kept that with in his mind. Um, all day long, thinking about the beggar that came has nothing while he has everything. So at the end of the day, when he finished the business day and closed his business and said, "Okay, the store is closed now," he went around the city looking for that beggar that went to the store earlier. And when he found the beggar, he gave all the money that he made during that day. And what happened? Of course, his friends make fun of him. He was punished by his father, right? How many times we do things that people should laugh at us, and I think, why are you doing this? Why do you do this to that person that was so bad to you? How many times we heard those kind of things, and kind of think, why this person is that to me? That's Isn't it what expect from us? So being different in that aspect, being different in the sense that we're following Jesus' teachings and the Spiritist teachings in our case, right? Um, it's been different from what most of the people expect from us. What a society expect, right? What we see many times in movies. Well, maybe time has changed, right? It's nice to see some movies, some movements in, especially with the the young generations, the new generations that's coming. They come with a different, at least that's my sense, my perception, that they are coming with a different mindset than when I was a kid. So it's nice to see that, but many times people in at least my age was expecting something different from us, and that's okay. you know Following Jesus teachings will make us different from what is expected. So that's what was going on with Francis of Assisi when he started his transformation, and realizing that life was much bigger than what he has, right? So if you think about the time that he was living, that was the time of the Crusades that was happening. The Latin Church was against the Islamic Church. There was a huge corruption in the church at that point. People were willing to get more priests and nuns because of the money that they would bring to the church, and use that money for their own benefits, and there is a lot of interference between from the church into the politics and the kingdom's decisions, etc. So it was a time with um, very problematic for the church at that point, right? The Catholic Church, the church that was following Jesus' teachings at that point. So Francis of Assisi, at a point, thinking about what his life would be, right? He took this, he walked to Rome, to the St. Peter's Basilica, and with the other pilgrims, that to looking for answers for his own question. What am I doing? Right? He was trying to figure it out. What should he do with his life? What is the purpose of his life? Right? And with that in mind, he was going to Rome, looking for an answer to help him to figure it out what would be the next steps in his life. So he started to get close to a church that was ruined, was completely destroyed, when he got visited by Jesus. Jesus came to Francis and said, Francis, go and repair my house, which, as you can see, is falling into ruins. And Francis, looking to the church, that church that was ruined, that was just completely destroyed, his first reaction was, okay, this is it. This is the church that I need to get fixed. This is the church that Jesus is telling me to get rebuilt. So he started thinking that it was a small thing, that it was a small um, church that he would need to, a building that he would need to build. So he started rebuilding that, but it was much bigger than that, right? So the question that we need to ask ourselves is, what is the house in rooms around us that we need uh, to look at and rebuild, that we need to take care of? What are the things that we can do, right? And as a spiritist, there's a lot that we can do with people around us, right? And it's important for us to keep in mind that Spiritism is not here for a selected group. Spiritism was not, put together for those who study spiritism, for those who goes to a spirit center. In the Gospel according to Spiritism, in the introduction, item number 2, there is a passage that says, Spiritism has no nationality. It lies outside all particular creeds and has not been imposed by any class of society, since any person may receive instruction from his or her relatives and friends from beyond the grave. It had to be this way so that it could call all humankind to fraternity. What it's telling us is that spiritism need to go beyond any nationality. You know, um, being Brazilian and knowing that knowing that we have a lot of Brazilians around the world bring spiritism into those countries, right? Um, it is easy for us to think, oh, Brazil has this is a spiritist, blah blah blah, but there's no nationality, you know. Many countries have something that has these communications with the spirits. It may not be the exactly way that we are used to do in a spiritism, but there is there a little bit a seed for spiritism, right? And we need to remember that spiritism go beyond a religion. It's teachings that we know through spiritism that should be spread to any religion, right? Other people could have, other religions could do communication with the spirits. What it brings to us as a spiritists is the importance of it, you know, making it something natural and not supernatural, right? Many times, communication with spirits is seen as a supernatural thing. And spiritism, what it does to us, it brings us to be um, more natural about it. So, if we think about what Francis of Assisi brought to us. And a lot of my references will be from the book that was Message from Joana de Angelis through the mediumship of Divaldo Franco and Cesar Braga Said. On the book, Francis, I will translate. I don't know if it's translated, to be honest. I'm so sorry. I should have checked that before. But in Portuguese, the name of the book is Francisco Sol de Assis, or Francis, the son of Assisi. Um, and so that bring a combination of letters and other things that we know about history of Francis, and through the mediumship of Divaldo and Cesar, Joanna give us messages reminding us about these examples of Assisi. Of course, what I'm gonna tell you guys is a very, very, very little thing from this book. I strongly recommend to read it. For those who speak Portuguese, hopefully If it's not already translated, I hope that soon get translated because it's a beautiful book to read, right? So one of the things that Joanna D'Angelo bringing to us is that Francis has this feeling of fraternity, friendship, uh, and bring that as the top of the list, to the top of the list of the humanity. You know, fraternity, friendship, mutual support are things that we should be doing as part of our humanity, right? He brings that, as we know in the spirituals, right? He brings before spirituals things that we learn from the a spirit's book, that minerals, animals, human beings, we are all, with no exception, creations of God, right? And because we are all creations of God, it makes us all brothers and sisters, right? In the Spiritism, through the Gospel according to Spiritism, through the Spirit's book, and any Kodak book will bring that we all brothers and sisters, that we are all um, there is all we are all together in this, right? So yes, we are brought in families. Yes, we are living in one country. Yes, we have our community here, right? But that doesn't stop us to be brothers and sisters of others. That those that goes beyond what we know, right? So, and then with that feeling of having everybody as one single family, it's important for us, right? Because it puts us all in the same group, all in the same family. So in the book, it brings us an example when some thieves went to the priests that work with Francis, and those priests they say, no, 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 go away. You know, they are asking for food, and they say, no, you don't deserve. You're thieves. You don't deserve this food. So when Francis came back and he heard about the story that the priests were telling him, um, Francis start calling those guys brothers thieves, right? In the book, you're gonna notice that bro, Francis always call brothers something, right? So we are all the same family. They're chiefs, yes, but they are our brothers too. So I'm so sorry. I need some water. Um, so Francis go back to those persons and tell them, you know what? Find those guys, go to the forest where they are hiding, look for them, and give them food and talk to them. And when they talk to them, the priests start preaching, right? That's what they do best. And through that preaching, they ask them to stop doing the wrongs that they were doing. So they take that opportunity to exemplify, or in this case, in their case, they were preaching to do something different from what they are used to. You know, in the spiritism, we know that it's more than um, talking about it, right? It's important for us uh, to be the example. And that's what Francis was, the example. He was doing things, right? So it's super important for us to study. It's super important for us to understand what Spiritism is, because we don't want to go and start doing things saying that it's Spiritism without knowing what we're doing, without knowing what Spiritism is about, right? So if we're gonna be, if I say I'm a Spiritist and I act as a Spiritist, I better know what I'm doing. I better know what I'm talking about, right? So it's important for us to always study, always, and Kardec always said that, right? It's not Marcio saying, it's Kardec saying we need to keep studying, we need to keep evolving in our understanding, but we also need to practice, right? Um, in chapter 2 of the Gospel according to Spiritism, my keen is not of this word, item number 7, it says, Spiritism, provides a basis and a reason for universal fraternity. Excuse me. Spiritism provides a basis and reason for universal fraternity, whereas the doctrine of the creation of the soul at the moment of the birth of each body renders all beings strangers to one another. So, as a spirit, as a spirit, we know that we are God's creation. We understand this universal fraternity. We understand better the universe, right? And when we incarnate, we all know, right, through the Spirit's book, that we forget what happened to us in past lives. We forget even that we are in the spiritual world, but we have a sense of it. We know that, right? So when we born, we have this limitation of understanding about my family, the country that I was born, the country where I live. I was born in Brazil, but I live in Canada. Now I'm living in the US. So it expand a little bit, right? Um, but we still stop ourselves there. I'm so sorry. We still look at, you know, people around us, and it's time for us to start thinking beyond what we can see, beyond what is around us, right? And that is what um what Francis in his time also brought to us. So first he teaches about fraternity, but he also teaches about being the smallest brother, right? We live in a world where we are asked to do the best in everything we do, to be perfect, that we cannot make any mistakes. We cannot have any bad feelings or emotions. I cannot be angry. You know, I cannot do this. I can, and Francis calls us to be the smallest. And when we think about being the smallest, right? Being the most humble, it doesn't mean that we shouldn't aspire to do good in life, to have some comfort, right? But it's how we get all of those things, right? And at the same time, it's not trying to be the perfect person, the number one in everything, right? So in Francis' time, he was fighting in the Crusades as if he was doing what Jesus asked him to do, right? So, what is Jesus asking us in his teachings? In our times, right? There is some wars happening over there, yeah, but not because of Jesus, right? But in our time, What can we do different? And this is what we're asked for. You know, we are very much divided in wealth people and poor people, the business and the workers, you know, the businessmen and the workers, the owners, and the workers, the managers, the directors, and everybody else, right? In Kardec's time was the scholars versus the ignorant, right? The artist versus the completely ignorant in arts, right? And we're always on that, you know, I'm the cool person or I'm the loser, right? Do I have the nice body or I'm not? You know, I'm am I the now we have the YouTubers, the Instagram people, right? Um, who am I? Right? So we are born in this environment, and the society has just changed the labels, but it's pretty much the same, right? And the question that Francis bring to us in being the smallest brother is that we don't need to have everything. We don't need to be good in everything, but we all have something good that we are good enough that can be shared, right? That can be um, given to others, and that's what Francis exemplify in his life. He worked as a servant to others, to people with leprosy. What was very common at that time. We all know that. Um, People that was abandoned in the outskirts of the cities, and everything that he possessed, he shared, and that's what we should take from his examples. Materially, intellectually, we are here to serve the humanity. We are here to make this place better. So in Spiritism, we always say, without charity, there is no salvation, right? So charity towards who? Helping others, you know, being charitable, you know, it's about serving others. What are you doing to serving others? That goes beyond being part of an organization like Fraternal Borders. That goes beyond our family, all right? We can be charitable at work. We forget sometimes. We put ourselves in boxes, right? Or masks. I'm at work, I'm one person. I'm at university, I'm another person. I'm at, I don't know, my family, I'm another person. I'm a group of friends, I'm another person. We need to stop being all these different people, right? Of course, you don't want to behave at work the same way that you behave with friends. You need to be a little bit different. That's fine. What I'm saying is, when we are being charitable, we can be charitable at work. I don't need to be a mean person at work because that environment make me a mean person. While if I'm in the spirit sense, I'm the saint. That doesn't make any sense. So if a coworker go to a spirit center, I will treat that person different from how I would treat him or her at work. It doesn't make sense, right? We need to treat everybody in the same way, with the same respect. Okay. And then, um, and again, this Spiritism in the Gospel according to Spiritism, chapter 25, seek and you shall find. The item number 8, it says, the earth will produce enough to feed all its inhabitants when, according to the laws of justice, charity, and love for one's neighbor, people know how to manage the provisions it gives to them. When fraternity reigns among all people, as it does among the provinces of the same country, the temporary surplus of one will make up for the temporary insufficiency of others, and each will have what it needs. We know that there is very rich people that if we divide their fortune with the poor people, everybody in the average would be fine. Would that really be fine? We we know that there is a reason why people go through what they go through, right? There's a reason why some people get very rich and some people is born very poor. Now, that reason is because of past lives, yes. It's because of experience that we need to go through, yes. But it's the task for everyone to show how fraternal we can be. How can we look to each other as brothers and sisters? And that's what I like a lot in Fraternity of All Borders. I'll bring this organization because I'm passionate about it, but as well because it doesn't ask us. It doesn't ask us to give everything. It doesn't ask us to, give up our lives for others, like Francis of Assisi did. He give up everything. It's the Fraternal Border is asking a little bit of everyone. And with a little bit, we can make other people's life better. If everybody contribute a little bit, this planet will be much better. And we have been talking about that in Spiritism, right? We have been talking about the transformation of our planet, the planet of regeneration, how that will be, etc. And it will happen as we start doing a little bit. So what I think it's an important lesson for us to have from Spiritism, combined with what Francis of Assisi bring to us as an example, and what the organization Fraternity of All Borders is helping, at least for me, understand. It's helping us to understand what being brothers and sisters, a spiritual family means, you know. And if we think about, we are so far away to understand it that if, when I say us, it's the planet Earth, you know, all the inhabitants of this planet, not spiritism um, only, but everybody, is that if we just see ourselves as part of one small family, and if I help just that particular group that I'm part of, right? My immediately family, my closest friends, my community, my church, people from the same religion, people from the same university, people from the um, same school, same work, do we, can we understand being part of a universal family that goes beyond this planet? Can we understand or grasp the understanding of what means to be brothers and sisters of people that don't even live in this planet? It sound realistic, right? Um, so that for me is one of the most beautiful teachings of Francis of Assisi, is that bring us all as brothers and sisters. So Vera's pinging is chatting with some questions here, so I'm gonna read and try to answer them. So fraternity depend a lot of humility, right? Being humble help us to understand that I'm not um, the only one to possess knowledge. I'm not the only one who can help. Being humble help us to go and look to our brothers and sisters as brothers and sisters. Being humble help us to um, look to the person next to us and say, "Oh, we are here, both on the same level," right? That help us to make sure that we do not uh, help others because of the feeling of being superior. Oh, I'm this great guy that I'm gonna help those poor people in another country. No, and that's again a good teaching from Fraternal Borders. When we go, and Peter is asking me to talk about it, Fraternal Borders. I'll do it in a minute. But when we go on caravan, excuse me, caravan, how we name the humanitarian missions. If I'm going to Africa thinking that I'm better and I'll be helping them, I'm going for the wrong reason. I need to go there because I see them as brothers and sisters. I see them as someone that can teach me and that I can teach them, that we can exchange knowledge, right? Because they have their culture, they have their way of living, they have their way of doing things. We shouldn't go there and impose our way of thinking, our way of doing things. You know, we need first to understand what is the reality there, what can work and what will not work before trying to say, oh, you should go to the internet and do some online courses. Well, how if they don't have a computer? How if internet doesn't work there, right? So we need to be humble enough to say, I don't know what's going on there. Let me learn and see how I can help. So Fraternity Without Borders is an organization that was born in Brazil by Wagner Moura. Wagner have this desire to help others in Africa. By being Brazilian, living there, knowing everything that all the needs that we have in Brazil, he helped a lot there. But eventually in 2009, he went to Africa and finally had the chance to understand and see how he could help. And he started putting together people. And it was always on this sentiment of fraternity of, we have brothers there in Africa that might need our help. Do you mind contribute a little bit? The way that they started is beautiful. He was talking to a friend, and a friend was, what do you need? And he said, well, if I have 50 friends donating 50 reais, it's about $10, right? I can help the community that I just visited. So his friend said, well, you don't need 50, you need 48, 49, because I'm gonna help you. Then his friend wife hearing the conversation said, well, we need 48 because I'm gonna help too. And that's how it started. A little bit of 50 people, help a community. And with that philosophy of a little bit of everyone is how Fraternal Board has been growing, right? It's how to know um, we get to know each other and work as a group of people. And in fact, that I always says, fraternity must start in our organization with our volunteers. So not different from any other organization, not even in Spiritist, right? We know there are conflicts happening everywhere. So the feeling of fraternity, look to each other as brothers and sisters, you start in the organization, within the volunteers. So that's Fraternal Borders. Today we have a project in Africa and in Brazil. Um, and I want to leave you guys with one final message that comes from the Gospel according to Spiritism, chapter 11. It says, I will say once more that the times are near when widespread fraternity will reign on this globe. The law of Christ is what will govern humans, and that law alone will be the restraint and hope that will lead souls to the blessed realms. Thus, love one another as children of the same Father. Do not set up a difference between you and those who are unfortunate, for God wills for everyone to be equal. So that's fraternity. Love one neighbor as yourself, right? And the Gospel according to Spiritism, chapter 11, item 14, remind us that. So with that, thank you everybody for having me. And I don't know, Paul, Peter, if we have any questions or we want to address anything that I missed.
Okay, thank you very much, Marcio. I was just thinking as I was listening to your presentation about an anecdote about Francis of Assisi that I heard in a lecture from a college professor. And it goes something like this. One day, Francis was with a friar and they were talking, and the friar looks at Francis and says, "So, Francis, how do you see yourself?" And Francis said, "Oh, I'm the biggest sinner of them all." And the friar was really surprised and he looked at Francis and said, "Oh, come on, Francis. There are some people around here who are a lot worse than you are." But Francis's answer was interesting because he said, "I'm the biggest sinner because I know what I need to work on and I still don't do it." What do you think? Does there a connection between what we need to work on in ourselves and our ability to engage in fraternity?
Yes. And I always like to people to be careful with that, right? Because yes, it's important for us to recognize what we're not doing, right? What else we could do, you know, and then find the way to do that without punishing ourselves.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm,
I understand Francis when he answered that question that way, but the gospel according to Spiritism also teach us to be kind to ourselves. So I do believe that knowing ourselves, as the Spirit's book tell us, is the path to transformation. Knowing ourselves is the first step, and
mm-hmm.
then the second step, being kinder to ourselves, to figure out the way to do that without feeling the pressure of doing everything. You know, that is, yes, it's important. Yes, we need to find ways to do more, but let's not put too much pressure on us at the same time.
Right.
we need to put the right pressure. I'm always afraid to answer those questions in a way that people will feel, oh my God, I'm the worst person in the world. I'm not doing anything, blah, blah, blah. But the person is working so hard in themselves, right? In his or herself to do a little bit better. And that might be enough. That might be what that person needed to do at this life, you know? So I think that fraternity start with ourselves, being kind and gentle to ourselves, not not forgetting our responsibilities. Everything in there is too extreme, it's bad, right? If you only look to yourself, you might become selfish, right? If you only look to others, you might not be taking care of you, and what you're doing might not be helping you as well. So the balance is the right thing. Being the middle is the right thing, but the hardest as well, because it's easy for us to go one side or the other.
Mhm. That's a very good point, because I think you were touching earlier on a comment about we don't have to be perfect. And sometimes maybe spiritists may assume that we must be perfect because we are always noticing our mistakes a little bit more. And certainly Francis and his followers could be a little harsh on themselves. And you're right. It's a tricky balance between we need to pay attention to what we're doing and hold ourselves accountable, but at the same time not beat up on ourselves all the time either, and find that balance in such a way that we can work with what we have, as it were, meaning
Yes.
where we are at this point.
Yes.
Okay, let's see if we have a question. From Yasko Arakawa. Hi, great topic. While liberty and equality were quite successfully fought in the 19th and 20th centuries, respectively, fraternity, among the three ideas of the French Revolution, is still lagging behind. Do you have reasons to trust in the 21st century fraternity will be significantly practiced on Earth? Hmm.
Yes. Yes. Isn't it progress a mandatory thing? We're gonna progress no matter what, right? Some people that not practice fraternity, it might need to go to another planet because Earth will continue its path, but it will come eventually, right? And again, planet Earth was not built in seconds. That's another thing, right? We are always rushing, and we want to see results. We might not see fraternity, being significant practice in Earth in this life. We might not see it. We might see portions of it, but not significantly, as the question asked. But I'm sure from the teachers that we have in the spiritism that progress must happen in every planet. Yeah, I'm sure it's gonna happen. I might not see it in this life, but I hope I'm here to see it when it happens.
Right. So being patient and taking the long view of things.
Yeah. What I'm not patient, and I'm not saying that. Saying, yeah, Marcio's super patient. No, Marcio's not. Marcio's super impatient. I
Right.
wish I was seeing this fraternity being here right now, but yeah, no, I have the conscience that it might not happen, but yeah, I wish it would.
I think all of us struggle with patience one way or another. So,
For sure.
okay, let's see if we have another question. Yes. Marcio, can you elaborate on Francis of Assisi's relationship with the established church in his lifetime? Was it fraternal or controversial? What does his approach say about him?
Well, I will elaborate as much as I can based on the book that I read, right? Um, Joanna de Angelis by Valdo. Now that I study a lot about Francis of Assisi, so I'll be honest with you guys, it's all
Okay.
about that book. But yes, I think it was very controversial. If you think about the time that was happening, right, where the church was very involved in the kingdoms and making decisions, political decisions, etc. Being part of that, and all the corruption and willingness to have money, money, money. It probably not for sure, a guy like Francis of Assisi saying, no, let's give everything to the poor. Let's give everything for those in need. It was definitely controversial. It was definitely something that others were saying, what this guy is doing, right? And there is a passage in the book that says that, Francis went to the Pope of that time and say, this is what we need to do. And the Pope, he ignored Francis of Assisi for a period of time, but in his mind, he said, "This guy is right. We should be doing that. You know, if I follow Jesus' teachings, this is what I should be doing." So, it was not fraternal. It was definitely controversial. He was fraternal, but totally controversial for the other people. And how many times do we do things? I think I mentioned this in my speech earlier. Um, how many times we are seen as the weird person that stopped doing this or stopped doing that, and because of our religion, our spiritism, and people look at that, we become controversial as well.
Right.
Right?
Okay. Thank you. Let's see if we have any other questions. Okay. We have one more. People get very discouraged by the divisive mood we live in nowadays. Is there hope for fraternity in the near future?
I'm assuming near future within our own
Maybe in our own lifetime.
existence,
Yeah.
right? Lifetime.
Yeah.
So um, I think yes. I think everything starts with us, right? We say that there's no heaven or hell. We can be living in hell or in heaven based on our mindset, based on what we're doing, what we're thinking, and what attracting to us. So yes, there is this fight, polarizations everywhere. But there is a lot of things that bring us together at the same time, right? It's what what we're searching for. I think that this we can live in fraternity right now if we practice that. If we start with ourselves. Am I being fraternal? Am I being part of this new way of living? If I am, yeah, this fraternity planet is started right now for you. So I'm sure, you know, those Fraternal Borders has a beautiful project in Malawi with refugees. You know, I'm sure some people left their lives behind to be there, to donate, to give their lives to that project. They are living fraternity. They are, it's not a near future. It's right now. Couldn't that be the truth for all of us as well?
Hmm.
Not need to go to Africa. We can start doing things in our own, you know, communities.
Mhm.
So I think yes.
Yeah.
The answer yes. We might not see it everywhere with everybody, but we can see it with ourselves.
Yeah, and it absolutely begins with each of us individually, right? If we just take the initiative and begin to move in that direction. Okay. Comment from Paula Craig. Thank you, Marcio. I have never read about Francis of Assisi. Such interesting history of this man, indeed. Okay. Well, thank you, Marcio. It's been great to have you here. And thank you, everyone who watched this live. And we thank all of you who have been following our weekly talks. Next Saturday, August 27th at 11 a.m., we will have Luis Villasa. The theme will be The Spirit World, Part 1. You see, he will be dividing his presentation into two parts. Therefore, after next Saturday, August 27th, Louise will skip a week and then join us again for part 2 on Saturday, September 10th. As we are about to end our live today, I would like to remind everyone of the upcoming 16th U.S. Spiritist Symposium, Time for Renewal, Healing, and Regrowth, on November 5th at Rice University in Houston, Texas. Make sure to register all your family so we can spend a full day of learning more about Spiritism and sharing our life experiences and friendship. Also, let's celebrate 25 years of the United States Spiritist Federation together. Finally, don't miss Sunday at 10 a.m. Eastern Time for the next class of Initiation into Spiritism course. Let us know if you have any questions about it. And now, before we end our live, Marcio, can you please say our final prayer?
Yes, sure. Let us all close our eyes and immerse in this energy that comes from the above, from God, our Creator, from Jesus, our brother, from all the good spirits that guide us through this incarnation, that guide us through this life. And let's thank them for the opportunity to be together, to be studying these lessons that teach us so much, that bring us the faith in humanity, bring the faith in ourselves. Let's be thankful for everything that we have and also things that we do not have. We know that our path, we know that our lives has a purpose that is much bigger than what we can see in this planet. Let's take this lesson on fraternity, take it into our hearts, so we can tomorrow and days to come, we can practice. We can put in practice all these lessons so we can be closer and closer to Jesus, to God, that we continue evolving as a spirit towards the perfection, towards Jesus. Thank you, God, and so be it.